Hi YouTube. This is part two of my review of some of my favourite brighteners, lighteners, highlighters. Tuli Peso requested that I talk a bit about my collection, and my earlier video that you can find is about the liquid and cream highlighters or illuminizers that I enjoy using. This one's about the powder products, which I guess people might think of more readily as highlighters and more readily used for highlighting, adding definition to certain parts of the face, particularly the cheekbone and brow bone, in order to give that brightening, luminising effect, rather than the more overall sort of glow that you can work with the liquid products that I talked about. Now, I love highlighters, and again, my powder ones I've kind of divided up because some of them I use pretty much all over my face rather than using any form of mattifying powder. I have reasonably dry skin, slightly combination around the T-zone, particularly the nose. It's not really oily there now, but I do have larger pores there. And so I find that foundation product is more likely to wear off during the day, and it's for that reason that I would use some form of powder to improve the durability of my makeup rather than remove shine. And as long as the powder isn't too glittery, I would rather use a brightening powder now than a purely mattifying powder. So I literally have in my collection of ordinary matte powders now only one powder. I've got rid of all the others, and that's a Tom Ford powder, and I use it very, very rarely. The daily powder that I carry around in my handbag and use for touch-ups is actually a Chanel highlighting powder. I think this came from either the 2011 or 2012 winter collection. Be the 2011, because they brought out another one last year that was very, very similar. But you can see, although I use this quite a lot, I still haven't completely worn the pattern off it. And although it is a highlighting powder, you can see there, in fact, when used either with the perfectly reasonable brush for carrying around in your handbag or a larger fluffy brush, it actually just works as a slightly brightening mattifying powder for me. And so that's how I use it, even though it's meant to be and is called a highlighting powder. And so that's my favourite, used as a daily face rather than highlighting. But I have two others. This is a very famous one, the Secret Brightening Powder by Laura Mercier, which is designed to be worn all over the face. You can see it's absolutely pale. The problem with this is it's a loose powder, which a lot of makeup artists prefer, because you do get a more finely milled powder, but I just find it a bit of a faff to put on. Although this is a small pot suitable for carrying around with you, I don't want to carry a loose large brush with me, and all the sort of tapping and getting off the excess product. So I find that although this is a very good powder, it gives a lovely finish, I really don't use it that often for pure convenience issues. Then one falling in the same range that I haven't used a lot, I bought last year. It's from the Asian Dior Snow collection, Voile de Neige Snow Veil. I think designed for Asian complexions, and supposedly a light amplifying face powder in the lightest colour. You can see it's very, very pretty, strips of different colour going up to quite a dark one there, and it had like a snowflake pattern that's mostly worn off. It's quite nice. I don't find it particularly brightening. So although it's a similar product to the Chanel one, it isn't quite as finely milled, and it does have tiny, tiny particles of glitter in one of the stripes, that bottom one, I think, which I suppose is to give the snow-kissed look, but it's not strong enough to use as a highlighter, but it's a bit too glittery for me to use as a mattifying powder all that often. One that I've just bought and I've literally only used twice, I got it when I was in America, is Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder, which had very good reviews, and I picked Luminous Light. They had it in about 4 shades. This was probably the lightest, and it's quite a glowy champagne-y type. Again, not powerful enough to use as a specific highlighter for me, but with a fluffy brush, it does give a nice effect over the face. So I am quite liking it so far. It's slightly less useful than the Chanel one, because if you pop it in a handbag, you need a separate brush with it. So I think it will probably take over as my kind of bathroom stored day powder. Then going to true highlights, I have a number of favourites. A good old faithful favourite is this Dior Amber Lights. It's called the shimmer powder in Amber Diamond. They do a rose one as well. It got a lot of love on YouTube and the blogs when it came out a couple of years ago. It's these kind of bronzy through to gold colours. As I say, there's a rosy gold pink version, which the girl tried to sell me, but this is my favourite. It gives a really nice, but quite subtle when you put it on, goldeny glow over bronzer or blusher. It's also useful because you can use these colours separately on the eyes as a brow definer or even over eyeshadow, or this one in the corner of the eye to light up. So I think it's a really useful palette. I've used it a lot. You can see it's still a lot left. There was a rumour that it was being phased out by Dior, but I spoke to a guy at one of the London department store concessions a couple of months ago who said they had heard that that was intended, but doesn't seem to be the case, I guess, because it's so popular. In the same ballpark is my new acquisition that I've talked about recently, which is from the Laura Mercier Fall collection, Spellbound Face Illuminator. It's a single colour, so in that sense it's less versatile than the Dior's Amber Lights. It's a fairly similar consistency. It comes off a little bit more yellowy gold, I think, depending how you mix the Amber Lights. It's a really, really nice product. I used it a lot on holiday. I can use it on my eyes, but it's just the one colour, but a very nice highlighter if you're in the market for one from this season. And then the good old faithfuls are the Bobbi Brown Shimmer Bricks. I used to have a lot of them, but I've got rid of all but 2. This was my original, the bronze. No, tell a lie, that's pink quartz. Is this the bronze? Yeah, that's the original bronze. Again, very useful because of different strips. I am getting down almost a pan on these ones, but a good variety of colour in the bronze. And up there, the nice white one for brow bone inner corners. You can't really beat them, and she makes a few limited editions each season, and then there's about 4 or 5 in the permanent collection. They're quite expensive, but they last for ages. I've probably had this one for about 5 years. I haven't used them a lot recently, but they have had a lot of love in the past. So, to be honest, although I probably would marginally prefer the Dior Amber Diamond simply because of consistency, if you're in the market for one of the stripe kind of highlighters, you can't go wrong with Bobbi Brown either. These 2 I really love. These are very strong highlighters, so they're not for you if you like a really, really subtle look, but I like to see, you know, what I'm getting for some. This is the Kevyn Aucoin Celestial Powder. Again, I think it's in a couple of colours, or maybe not. What have I got? Candlelight. Again, it's a really white colour and very fine powder, but gives a tremendous payoff on the cheeks, not showing up so much there. A really silvery, not glittery, but very luminous, in your face highlight. I love it, especially in the evening, but also in the daytime if I'm looking quite tired. I haven't had it long, and I will say there's quite a lot of sort of wastage because it's very fine and it flakes away. But it does have the little brush so you can stick it in your handbag. The downside is the little drainage holes really are drainage holes. So that powder leaks out, which is why I'm still keeping it in its original box. But it's a good product if you like the more obvious luminous highlighter. And then this is a really in-your-face one. It's, I think I got it in, can't remember if it was last year or the year before. It's the Terracotta by Guerlain. Absolutely enormous palette. It's their Sun in the City, and it's a really, really metallic gold. Now, I used this solidly when I was on holiday for a month last year, and you can see that the gorgeous wavy ribboned pattern is barely touched. Because it is such a strong payoff. You need only the tiniest bit on the biggest brush you can get to give a really gold sheen, which I think is lovely if you're on holiday on your bronzer or, you know, on the eye area. But it is very in your face, and it's, you know, either a real summer or I suppose quite a festive party look in winter, not kind of a day-to-day highlighter, but it's gorgeous quality. The payoff is second to none, and you know, I think this is probably going to last me about 20 years. It's such an enormous 15 grams, and you need so little. So those are my favourite powder highlighters. I'm always in the market for more. I love the luminous products, and so if you have any recommendations, I'd be really happy to hear them. Bye for now.